The hall was silent when the alien girl walked in. Her steps were slow, uneven, as if every movement carried pain. The crowd whispered, some laughed, some turned away in pity. She was called broken, weak, unworthy, and yet she was chosen for him, a human. Everyone waited for his answer. The human's chest tightened as he looked at her fragile form. This was not what he expected. His voice, sharp and cold, cut through the room. No, I don't accept her. The girl's head lowered. Her hands trembled. But in that quiet moment, her eyes lifted and they glowed faintly, like hidden fire, waiting to burn. No one else noticed, but he did, and deep inside, something told him rejecting her was a mistake he would never forget. The great hall was filled with soft light from the glowing crystals in the ceiling. People had gathered from different parts of the colony. Some were human, many were alien, but all eyes were fixed on the center. Today was a special day, a day when names would be called and partners chosen. The humans still found this tradition strange, but for the aliens, it was old and sacred. He stood among the others, waiting for his name. His heart beat faster than he liked. He was not afraid of meeting someone new, but he was unsure of what was expected of him. Humans were still guests here, still learning the customs of this world. He hoped quietly that his name would not be called too soon. Then the voice of the elder echoed through the hall. His name was spoken, and with it, another name followed. A hush fell across the crowd. Some shifted uncomfortably, some even smirked. He did not understand at first, but when he saw her walking forward, he began to understand. The alien girl moved slowly. Her steps were uneven, and she leaned on a carved staff for balance. Her long cloak dragged behind her, almost hiding her feet. Her hair was silver, shining like moonlight, and her eyes were large and deep. But there was something in the way she walked, something fragile. She looked weak, different from the other strong and graceful alien girls he had seen before. The whispers began to spread quickly. They said she was disabled. They said she should not have been chosen. Some voices even laughed quietly, as if this moment was a cruel joke. He swallowed hard, feeling the weight of so many eyes on him. He was supposed to step forward, supposed to accept her hand, supposed to honor the ritual. But his chest grew tight, and his mind filled with doubt. Was this what they expected from him? Was this to be his match? The girl stopped in front of him. Her hands were trembling slightly. Though she tried to hide it by holding her staff close, she lifted her face, and for a moment he saw something unusual in her eyes. They glowed faintly, almost as if a small light burned inside them, but it was gone so quickly. He wondered if he imagined it. She stretched out her hand to him, waiting. The hall became silent again. The elder's eyes were fixed on him, waiting for his response. His throat felt dry. His thoughts raced. He thought of what people would say if he accepted her. He thought of how others had already judged her. He thought of the life ahead, and all he could see was uncertainty. Slowly, he shook his head. His voice came out softer than he expected, but still clear enough for all to hear. "No," he said. "I cannot." The words cut through the silence like cold air. The whispers rose again, sharper this time. Some faces showed surprise. Others nodded as if they expected nothing else. The elder frowned, but did not speak. The girl's hand remained stretched out for a moment longer, then slowly lowered to her side. Her eyes dropped to the floor. She did not speak. She did not cry. She simply turned her head slightly away, as if she had known this moment would come. Yet for the briefest second, when her eyes lifted toward him again, that faint glow returned. It was not the glow of weakness. It was something else, something hidden, something she was not showing to anyone. He felt a strange chill inside his chest as their eyes met. He could not explain why. She turned and walked away with the same slow, uneven steps, her cloak trailing behind her. The hall gradually returned to its usual noise, but the whispers never stopped. He stood frozen, unable to move. A part of him wanted to call her back, but he did not. Instead, he told himself it was better this way, easier this way. He told himself that he could not carry such a burden. Yet even as he thought this, he could not forget the look in her eyes. Later that night, he walked alone outside the hall. The stars of this alien world stretched across the dark sky, brighter than anything he had seen on Earth. He tried to calm his restless thoughts. The image of her silver hair and trembling hands would not leave him, neither would the glow in her eyes. He remembered how the others had looked at him, some with agreement, some with pity, some with disapproval, but none of it mattered as much as the feeling in his own heart. Why did he feel as if he had made a mistake? Why did it feel as if something important had slipped through his fingers? He leaned against the railing and stared into the distance. Somewhere out there, she was alone. He did not know why it bothered him so much, but it did. He closed his eyes, and for a moment, he thought he saw her again, standing in the shadows with eyes that glowed like hidden fire. When he opened his eyes, the stars looked brighter, but the unease in his chest did not fade. He did not know it yet, but the choice he made today was only the beginning. The girl he had rejected carried a secret far greater than anyone imagined, and soon he would be the one left speechless. At night, the colony grew quiet. The great hall was empty now, and the voices that had filled it during the day were only faint echoes in memory. The human could not sleep. He lay in his bed, turning again and again, but his mind returned to the same moment, the girl standing before him, her hands stretched out, and the way her eyes glowed for just an instant. He told himself it had been nothing, a trick of the light, a tired mind seeing things. But no matter how many times he tried to reason it away, the memory refused to fade. He stood and walked outside. The night air was cool, carrying with it the strange sense of the alien trees. The sky above was full of stars, more than any he had seen back on Earth. They shimmered in colors his eyes were still learning to recognize. He thought being under those stars would bring peace, but instead he felt unsettled. Somewhere out there, she was also awake. He was certain of it. As he walked near the outer walls of the colony, he heard a sound. It was soft, like fabric brushing against stone. He paused, holding his breath. Then he saw her. She was sitting alone on the steps near the gardens, her silver hair shining faintly in the moonlight. She had removed her cloak, and without it, she looked even smaller, more fragile. Her staff rested on the ground beside her. Her head was tilted back toward the sky, and her eyes were wet with quiet tears. For a long moment, he did not move. He felt he was intruding on something private, yet he could not leave. Something about her loneliness drew him closer. She turned her head slightly, and even though her tears had not dried, her voice was calm. "Why are you here?" she asked softly. He did not know how to answer. At last he said, "I couldn't sleep." She gave a faint smile, but it was full of sadness. "Neither could I." Her gaze returned to the stars. "They are beautiful, aren't they? Yet they feel so far away, like everything else." He sat down a few steps away, careful not to come too close. He felt awkward, unsure what to say. Finally, he spoke the question that had been pressing on his mind. Why do they treat you differently?" Her hands tightened in her lap. For a long time, she was silent. When she finally spoke, her voice was almost a whisper. "Because I am not like them. Because my body is not like theirs. To them, that means I am less." She paused, her eyes lowering. "But you saw, didn't you? Even if you don't understand what you saw." He blinked in surprise. "What do you mean?" She turned toward him then, and for the first time he saw her eyes clearly in the moonlight. There it was again, that faint glow deep inside them, like fire covered in glass. It was beautiful and unsettling. "You noticed," she said softly. "Even if you try to forget it, you noticed. And that is why you cannot sleep tonight." He opened his mouth, but no words came. She was right. He had noticed, and now that she spoke of it, he felt a chill run through him. She looked away again, as if she had said too much. "Do you know what they whisper about me?" she asked after a moment. "They call me broken. They say I should have never been chosen for anyone. They say my life will always be small." She drew a deep breath. "But they are wrong. I am not what they think I am. There are things inside me they will never understand." Her words lingered in the air like a secret. He leaned forward, his curiosity growing. "Then why not show them? Why not prove them wrong?" Her smile was faint, almost bitter. "Because if I showed them, they would not see me as one of them. They would see me as something else, something to fear." She lowered her voice until it was barely more than a breath. "That is why I hide. That is why I walk slowly. That is why I carry this staff. It is easier for them to think I am weak than to know what I truly am." He felt his chest tighten again. But this time, it was not from doubt, it was from a strange sense of wonder. She was more than she seemed, and he was certain now that the glow in her eyes was not his imagination. Before he could speak again, she stood. Her cloak rustled as she lifted it from the ground and pulled it around her shoulders. She picked up her staff and looked down at him. "You should rest," she said softly. "Tomorrow will come quickly, and you will forget this." She turned and began walking away, her steps slow but steady. He wanted to call out to her, to stop her, to ask her what she meant, but his voice failed him. He only watched as she disappeared into the shadows of the garden, her silver hair the last thing to fade from sight when she was gone. He sat there for a long time, staring at the stars. He told himself he would forget, just as she said, but deep inside, he knew he could not. Something about her words, something about that secret glow, had planted a question in his heart that would not go away, and though he did not know it yet, that question would change everything. The next morning came with a soft light spilling across the colony. The human woke early. Though his sleep had been broken, every time he closed his eyes, he saw her sitting in the garden, silver hair shining, and eyes glowing faintly in the dark. He told himself not to think about her, not to question his choice, but the thought stayed with him like a shadow he could not escape. The colony began its day as usual. People moved through the streets, carrying food, tools, and water. The air was full of the sounds of life, yet something felt different. The human noticed groups whispering, pointing toward the edges of the settlement. Their voices were hushed, their faces uneasy. He asked a nearby worker what was happening, but the man only shook his head and said, "The outer fields. Something strange moves there." Curiosity pulled him toward the outer edge. The land stretched far and wide, with crops swaying gently. Under the pale sun, it should have been peaceful, but there was tension in the air. Farmers were leaving their work and gathering their families closer to the walls. The human could not see the cause at first, but he felt it, an uneasy stillness, as if the world itself was waiting. Then he saw her. The alien girl stood alone at the far end of the fields, her staff planted in the soil, her cloak wrapped tightly around her. She was facing the tall grass, watching intently. He wondered why she was there, why no one else dared to stand beside her. From his place on the path, he could see how others kept their distance. They watched her, but not with kindness, more with suspicion, even fear. He wanted to go closer, but his feet hesitated. Instead, he stayed hidden behind a low wall. From there, he saw her hand rise slowly, as if she was listening to something no one else could hear. Her fingers trembled for a moment, then stilled. She whispered something he could not make out. The grass in front of her shifted unnaturally, as though something large was moving beneath it. The people on the walls gasped and pulled back. Mothers took their children inside. The human's breath caught in his throat. He had heard about the strange creatures that roamed outside the safe grounds, but he had never seen one this close. The girl did not run. She stood firmly, her staff pressed into the earth. And then it happened. A glow spread faintly across her arm, seeping through the cloth of her sleeve. It was soft at first, then brighter, tracing patterns across her skin like threads of light. The human's eyes widened. This was the same glow he had seen in her eyes, but now it was alive across her body. She lifted her arm higher, and the glow shimmered in the air around her. The grass rustled violently, then fell silent, as if whatever was hidden inside had been warned away. The tension in the air loosened. The whispers on the wall turned to stunned silence. The human leaned forward, unable to look away. His heart pounded in his chest. He realized in that instant that she was not weak. She was not broken. She carried something inside her that no one else did. Something both powerful and strange. After a long moment, the glow faded. She lowered her arm and steadied herself on her staff. From far away, she looked tired, but not defeated. She turned her face toward the colony walls, and though the human could not be sure, he thought her eyes flicked toward where he stood. Quickly, he pulled back behind the wall, afraid she had seen him. His mind raced. What had he just witnessed? Why did she hide this from everyone? And why did the others seem so uneasy, as if they had expected it, but never spoke of it aloud? As he walked back into the colony, he noticed how the people whispered. Again, this time more urgently. Their words carried worry, maybe even fear. She used it again. One said, "She cannot keep doing this," another muttered. The human wanted to ask what they meant, but he held his tongue. All day, he carried the image of her glowing arm in his mind. He tried to focus on his work, but it was no use. That glow had shaken him. It was proof that her weakness was only an appearance, a mask she wore to hide something greater. And now he wondered, was that why she had looked at him in the hall with such strange eyes? Was that why she had told him he would never understand? That evening, as the sky deepened with colors of violet and gold, he found himself walking near the garden again. He did not expect to see her there, but part of him hoped he would. The memory of her glow haunted him, not with fear, but with a strange fascination. He had rejected her, and yet she had shown him something no one else dared to reveal. He sat on the steps where she had been the night before, staring at the stars. The colony behind him buzzed with quiet talk, but here it felt still. He remembered her words, "If you knew what I really am, you would fear me." And yet, instead of fear, he felt curiosity, even admiration. He closed his eyes, and the glow returned in his thoughts, soft and bright, a secret she carried in silence. For the first time, he began to wonder if the mistake was not in accepting her, but in turning her away. And deep within him, a question formed that he could not escape. What else was she hiding? That night the colony felt different. The human could sense it in the way people moved, in the way their voices dropped whenever her name came up. No one spoke openly, but everyone knew the girl had done something again in the outer fields. And though no one dared admit it, they had all seen the light that came from her. Some looked uneasy, others looked fearful, but no one spoke of it. Where elders might hear. The human walked through the quiet streets, his thoughts heavy. He remembered her eyes, her trembling hands, and then the glow that had poured across her skin like fire hidden under glass. He had rejected her in front of everyone, yet she carried something greater than any of them. The more he thought about it, the less sense it made. Why would she hide it? Why would she pretend to be weak when such strength lived inside her? He found himself near the gardens again, drawn there without meaning to. The night air was cool, carrying the scent of flowers that only opened under moonlight. At first, he thought the place was empty, but then he saw her sitting beneath one of the tall crystal trees. The branches stretched above her, glowing faintly, casting soft light across her silver hair. She had removed her cloak again, and the staff rested at her side. For a long time, he stood watching. She looked peaceful, but her face carried the weight of someone who had held too many secrets for too long. He stepped forward quietly. She did not turn until he was only a few steps away. Her eyes met his, and there it was again, that faint inner glow that seemed to rise when she looked directly at him. "You shouldn't be here," she said softly. "Neither should you," he answered. "Yet here we are." She gave a small smile, though sadness touched the edges of it. "You saw, didn't you, out in the fields?" He nodded. "I saw enough to know you are not what they call you. You are not broken." Her expression changed. She looked down at her hands, curling them into her lap. "That is what they believe. It is easier for them to think I am weak, easier for them to laugh, to whisper, to turn away." She lifted her hand slightly, and even in the dim light he could see faint lines, almost like patterns beneath her skin. "But you are right. I am not broken. I am something else entirely." The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. He leaned closer. "Then why hide it?" She hesitated, her gaze fixed on the patterns that pulsed faintly along her arm. At last, she spoke. "Because if they knew, if they truly saw what I am, they would not accept me. They would not see me as one of their own. They would see me as something unnatural." Slowly, she reached for the wrappings around her arm and loosened them. The cloth fell away, revealing her skin beneath. The human caught his breath. Her arm was marked with glowing shapes, lines that seemed both alive and beautiful, like stars pressed beneath her skin. The light moved gently, pulsing as if in rhythm with her heartbeat. "This is what I carry," she whispered. "This is what they fear." He stared, unable to speak. It was unlike anything he had seen before. The patterns looked ancient, yet alive, as if they belonged to something greater than either of them. They were not scars. They were not wounds. They were something far beyond human understanding. She covered her arm again quickly, pulling the cloth tight. "I should not have shown you. You will look at me differently now." But he shook his head. "No, I don't know what this means, but I don't see you as less. If anything, I see more." Her eyes widened slightly, the glow flickering inside them. For the first time, he thought he saw hope there, fragile but real. She turned away, though, as if afraid of what that hope might become. "You are human," she said quietly. "You speak kindly now, but when the time comes, you will choose as the others do." He wanted to protest, to tell her she was wrong, but before he could speak again, she rose to her feet. She picked up her staff and pulled her cloak around her shoulders. "You should not follow me," she said gently. "What I carry is not only a secret, it is a burden, one that no one else can share." With that, she walked toward the shadows of the garden, leaving him once more in silence. But this time, the silence felt heavier. He had seen her truth with his own eyes, and it left him shaken as he sat beneath the glowing branches, his thoughts tangled. He remembered her trembling hands, her lowered head in the hall, and then the hidden patterns glowing across her arm. She was not what they said she was. She was something rare, something powerful, and something she had kept hidden for reasons he could not yet understand. He leaned back against the tree, looking up at the stars. For the first time, he wondered if her presence in his life was not an accident, but fate. And deep inside, he felt that whatever she was hiding, it would soon matter not just to her, but to all of them. The next day began like any other yet. Everyone in the colony felt an unease that could not be explained. The winds carried a strange hum, low and steady, as if the air itself was warning them of something unseen. The human tried to go about his duties, but his thoughts kept drifting back to the night in the gardens, to the glow beneath her skin, to the way she looked at him as though she already knew. He would turn against her one day. By midday, whispers spread among the people. The outer watchtowers had seen movement in the sky, shapes drifting at the edge of vision. Some claimed it was only the shifting of clouds, but others felt certain it was more. The colony elders gathered in secret, their voices sharp and low. Fear moved through the streets like a shadow, but no one dared speak it aloud. The human noticed her absence. She was not at the gathering halls, not in the market, not even near the gardens where she often sat alone. He searched quietly, careful not to draw attention. At last, he found her beyond the colony walls, standing on a ridge overlooking the horizon. Her cloak fluttered in the wind, and her staff was planted firmly in the earth beside her. When he approached, she did not turn. "You feel it too," she said, her voice calm but heavy. He stopped beside her, looking out at the vast plain. The light was dim, the sky painted in colors that spoke of a storm to come. Yet the storm was not of weather. "I don't know what I feel," he admitted, "only that something is wrong." She finally turned, her eyes glowing faintly in the shadow of her hood. "It is not wrong. It is expected. The patterns within me, they are not only marks, they are signals, beacons. They call to those who seek what I carry." His chest tightened. "You mean, they are coming because of you?" "Yes," she whispered. "And when they arrive, this place will no longer be the same." The human tried to understand, tried to put words to the storm of questions racing in his mind. But before he could speak, she unwrapped her arm again. The glowing lines pulsed brighter than before, alive, as though responding to whatever moved beyond the horizon. The light grew, flowing across her skin like rivers of fire and stars. He stepped back in awe. "It's stronger than last night." She nodded slowly. "The closer they come, the more it awakens within me. I cannot hide it much longer. Soon, everyone will see." A silence stretched between them, filled only by the humming wind. The human wanted to ask what they were, who exactly sought her, but the weight of her expression stopped him. Instead, he said quietly, "Then you should not face this alone." For the first time, she looked shaken. Her hand trembled as she pulled the cloak tightly back over her arm. "You do not understand. If you stand beside me, you will share in the burden." And burdens such as mine do not end, they grow heavier with every step. He met her gaze firmly. Maybe, but a burden shared is less than a burden carried alone. Her lips parted slightly, as if the words touched her deeper than she wished to admit. She turned back to the horizon, her eyes distant. We will see if you still believe that when the skies open. Together they stood, watching the shifting shapes above the plains. The colony behind them carried on with uneasy silence, unaware that the moment of truth was drawing closer with every breath of wind. That night, while the people tried to sleep, the human lay awake in his quarters. He thought of her eyes, of the glowing patterns, of the storm that was coming, and though fear pressed against him, another feeling burned stronger, a quiet, unshakable certainty. When the skies finally opened, he would not let her face it alone. The night sky was never still in that world, but on this night it seemed alive with hidden movements. Stars shimmered and bent, as if something vast pressed against the very edges of the sky. The colony awoke in fragments, first the children crying, then the elders murmuring, and finally the watchtowers sounding their calls. The human rushed into the streets, joining the others as they gathered in the central square, faces tilted upward, eyes wide with a mixture of wonder and dread. Above them, the darkness opened like a veil, revealing lights not of stars, but of ships, silent, cold, and watching. She appeared from the crowd without hesitation, her cloak loose around her shoulders. The moment her feet touched the square, whispers spread like wildfire. Some gasped, some stepped back. They remembered her scars, her uneven steps, her broken form. But tonight, she did not look broken. She looked inevitable. Her eyes glowed as though the fire of the heavens lived inside them. With each step she took, the patterns beneath her skin flared brighter, pulsing in rhythm with the distant ships above. The human felt his breath catch, as if the universe itself had chosen this moment to reveal a secret it had hidden for too long. The elders tried to quiet the people, but their voices faltered. No words could compete with the truth unfolding before their eyes. She stopped at the center of the square, lifted her hand, and pulled away the cloak entirely. Gasps echoed through the crowd. Her body, once dismissed as weak, now shone like living starlight. Every line upon her skin told a story, every glow a map leading to something beyond human understanding. The ships above responded. Their lights shifted, beams reaching downward, as though answering a call they had long awaited. The air vibrated, heavy and full. Some colonists dropped to their knees, overwhelmed by the sight. Others backed away in fear, whispering of omens and curses. The human stood at her side. Though his heart pounded with fear, his feet did not move. He saw her not as others did, not as a sign of doom, not as an outcast, not as a mistake. He saw her strength, her quiet courage, her determination to stand in front of them all when she could have hidden away. She turned her head slightly, her glowing eyes finding his. "They know I am here," she whispered. "There is no goin' back now." "Then let them come," he said softly. "You will not face them alone." For a heartbeat, she simply stared at him, as though weighing his words against the weight of the stars. Then, slowly, a faint smile touched her lips, small, but real. The square filled with silence. The ships held their distance, waiting, as if uncertain whether to descend or retreat. The people stared between her light and the human's steady presence, unable to look away. Something had shifted in that moment, not only in the sky, but within every heart watching. No one could deny what they saw. She was not weak. She was not broken. She was chosen. And the human, who once rejected her, now stood as her only ally. Together, they faced the horizon of an uncertain future, where secrets would be tested, where burdens would grow heavier, but where hope had finally found a place to stand.